Hello, everyone. I just want to say welcome to the Keys and Innovations Club, the show where we talk everything about business. I'm Keelani Hall, and today we are talking about how to pitch yourself. Now, even before we hop into today's episode, I'm just going to give you a brief background about myself and how I really got into the whole business arena and engaging with startups. And so roughly some time ago, I was introduced to this organization that was really about, impacting and changing cities through economic revitalization. And so that's something that really stuck with me is, really changing cities, changing communities. And so I decided, let me go and try to connect with this organization, be onboarded, go through that entire process. And in the long run, I ended up working with a VC, through that connection. And so even working at this VC, one of the things that I realized is I'm constantly meeting people, constantly have to pitch myself. And, that's not just limited to me, but that's really happens with everyone in this space. Once you're there, you pitch yourself, here's my business card. Pitch yourself, hey, here's my business card kind of thing. And even with the pitch, for those that don't know, is just a small explanation or overview of yourself, your business or your project. And it really tells, your listeners or those that you're speaking with what you do, why you do it, and really why it's of value. It's beyond just your typical introduction of, this is my name, I'm a teacher, but it gives, I would say, almost a sneak preview of yourself. It's really an advertisement, so to speak. There's various examples out there that I deem as pitches, others may not, but I believe that they are, one, commercials, professional or personal biographies, those short ads that you even see on Instagram or Facebook, and the list really goes on. And so even when it comes to that, if I ask you in this moment, what is your favorite commercial, or what commercial even sticks out to you, what is that commercial for you? And why is that? Out of all the billions of commercials out there, the things that media ads that you're exposed to, why did that one stick out to you? Really, was it the message? Was it the speaker? Was it the presentation? What about it really grabbed you? And so that's really the same thing even with a pitch. Because even with a pitch, it's really a powerful thing, because it's, like I said earlier, it's beyond just telling people who you are, what you do, and why it could be of value, to them. But it's really a connecting point. It ties you to someone's story. It ties you to their mission. I've seen people really rock out pitches deliberately, whether that's at a pitch competition or even a networking event. And then there's other times where people are just pitching themselves through general conversation. It's not really forced, but it's just, I would say relaxed engagement where we're just talking. But in the end, they ended up connecting with investors or potential business partners, wanting to work with them after just hearing a bit about themselves and just hearing their pitch. And so even with that, a pitch really has the opportunity to live beyond you in even that moment. For me, I'm someone who, if I hear someone's pitch and, hear what they're doing, it really provides value, not only to myself, but even potential other people that I'm engaging now or may engage with in the future. Then where there's potential overlap, with someone that I come across, then I'm very vocal about that, and just advertising that person, saying, hey, you should go connect with so-and-so, and, just repeating the pitch that they gave me to that person. After doing some research, do your due diligence and credibility and all that. But even with that, there's the possibility that your pitch lives beyond you, where someone can, give your pitch to someone else. I've been in the room with people, people that I really encounter like for the first time in person, but somehow I'm not even sure if they've like heard of me, my name, and like even what I do, even though it's the first time that I'm really encountering them or even speaking to them. And so when it comes to your project, or when it comes to your pitch, when it comes to really like your business, what I say is to do it well. Because if you bring people to that connecting point, um, and, pitch in a way that shows value to them, then people will continue to follow what you're doing. They'll connect to what you're doing. They'll even support what you're doing. So when it comes to your business, when it comes to your project, do it well. Because again, your pitch really goes beyond you, and it has the possibility to precede you in rooms that you may not have even walked into yet. And so even with, saying all that, one of the things that I realized even when engaging with people is, sometimes we have people that do incredible things, and I'm pretty sure everyone listening to me right now, that you do something that's phenomenal. But what I've seen is, when I'm at events or just engaging with people, is that there's people that do phenomenal things, but their stuck point, or the point where they sort of fall short, is knowing how to pitch themselves or vocalize, what they do. Um, even even for the people that may need it the most. Like they may have a solution to someone that they're speaking with, but because they didn't know how to vocalize that, or even put it in the right message, then that person doesn't have the opportunity to access that solution or even know that that's available to them. And so even when that person, leaves at the end of the night, um, one of the things that I see is like disappointment in their face, is because they weren't able to make those connections that they desired or hoped for, or even the impact that they were looking to make, engaging with people, or even networking with people, making the connections that they wanted to at the end of the night, or that they hoped for. And so it is my hope that, everyone here, everyone listening now, that that's not you, but that you take what's being said, and you apply, you learn like what works for you. Now, when it comes to pitching, I'm just going to give you like a few key things that I look for to really hone in on whether, my pitch has like really landed and stuck with someone. And then I'm really going to give you into like the overall gist and keys of, really how to make a great pitch. And so when it comes to me pitching myself, there are a few things that I look for. Um, you will find your own things that you may see or notice, that things that I may not have listed even now. But one of the things that I look at is body language when I'm pitching with someone. And the reason that is because I remember when I started out pitching myself, just had that little skinny outline of, here's the pitch, this is the things that you unclear. I realized I was too technical. And so with that, I would say all these phenomenal things, people have, but they look like a deer in headlights. And so that was one of the things, like, okay, come on, you need to get this right. And then I began to notice the shift, tweaking my pitch, refining it. I began to see that people's body language began to change, that they were no longer confused of, oh yeah, this sounds phenomenal, but I don't know what she's saying, to this is something that resonates with me. How can I connect with you? How can I utilize your services and what you do? And so really like seeing the difference in their eyes, seeing the difference, even their facial expressions, these are key giveaways that you can look at to really determine whether your pitch, has landed with someone. Now I'm just going to put a disclaimer right here. Everyone's body language may not be telling. Some people may have a, straight face, but you knock their socks off. And so with that being said, learn what works for you, know what resonates with people. But another thing that I use to really gauge on whether my pitch has like really struck someone is one of their follow-up questions. And the reason I say this is because when it comes to the follow-up questions, I've seen conversations where people like pitch themselves, but it wasn't phenomenal, or it was just not the best, and the conversation just ends right there. But what the follow-up questions will really do is really tell you whether there are certain things that you need to clarify in your pitch, whether that be like the language that you use. Is this common knowledge that everyone knows? Are they seeking more insight because there's a lack of clarity? And so when it comes to the follow-up questions, and for me, when it comes like really to the follow-up questions, one of the things that I noticed is there's this tell me more questions when it comes to pitching yourself. Not in the way that I'm confused, but because I want to learn more. I want to engage with you more, continue on the conversation. That's one of the ways I determine whether a pitch has really done good. Let's continue to talk, let's continue to extract value from this, what you do, what I do, and really bring that all to the table and explore that. Now, even for this next portion, when it comes to finding the right pitch or creating the right pitch, I just want to say it's really going to happen by trial and error. I don't think anyone really knocks out the perfect pitch on the first try. And so when it comes to a pitch, I'm going to give you some of the main parts, but you really have to learn what works best for you and also understand those that you encounter. Because when it comes to networking and making connections, every person is not the same. And so the pitch that you may get to a CEO is different from a pitch that you would give to an investor or entrepreneur or a potential partner. And so with that, you can have a general elevator pitch, which is roughly 30 seconds to 1 minute of what you do, who you are, and everything that you have. But when it comes to that, you have a general pitch, but you refine it depending on those that you engage with. And so even with the elevator pitch, again, that elevator pitch is really just like 30 seconds to a minute. And I would say when you think of your pitch and when you're creating your pitch, really think of it as like a movie trailer, like a sneak preview. When it comes to movie trailers, it's that thing that it's not long, but it's going to pull me in and I want to buy a ticket. So that has to be the same thing with your pitch. It's not long, but I want to get a ticket to see your movie, to see you connect to what you're doing and buy in. And so when you think of, oh yeah, I'm about to go pitch myself, just think of lights, camera, action, and give all the dope scenes, the critical information that's really going to get people thinking of, hey, I want to go see the rest of that. And so when it comes to a pitch, here are some of the main things that you want to have is one, you want to have your role. Now, when it comes to your role can speak to your experience as well as what you do. Now, the reason I say a role is important is because when you say your role, it can really give insight on people's perspective. So if I said that there's a difference between if someone says that they're an intern versus if they're a senior manager at, let's say, a law firm. Now, this is not to really diminish the role of an intern, because when it comes to an intern, I believe that speaks volumes in itself, because when it comes to interns, you have to be someone that's eager to learn, as well as you're someone that is versatile. You know how to work in various environments. You know how to work under pressure, and you're very fluid as far as the organization. And that's something of value, potentially being a jack of all trades, being skilled in different areas, and that's refined as you continue out in your career. But, interns are phenomenal. You have cross-sectional training. And so that's just dope in itself, there's endless possibilities to that. But with that, and even with the role, that can speak to what you're doing, your level of experience. But another thing you want to include in your pitch is one, the company or organization that you're a part of. Now, the reason I say this is because there's a difference when it comes to when you mention an organization, because when you mention an organization that you are a part of, that can speak to your credibility. And the reason I say this is because if someone says that they work for Google, you already know when it comes to Google, that's really, not everyone gets into Google. Those that go there have to be smart. They got to be distinguished. And so even when it comes to saying what organization you're a part of, that can just speak volumes to who you are and what you bring to the table. But last but not least, and this is the main banger, the main action shot scenes, is one, I would say mention 3 to 5 key things that you do. Now, I usually stick to roughly about three, just to leave room for questions as well as even a chance to explore more things. Because when it comes to like the 3 or 4 things that you do, the main things that you do is that the reason I say to include this is because sometimes roles and titles may not speak exactly to what you do, especially in startups. People may have one title, but it really doesn't correlate to like what they do on a day-to-day basis. And even when it comes to explaining like those 3 things that you do, something that I learned from a social media marketer, I believe her name is April Beverly. She said that most people, they don't speak or beyond, I would say, 8th grade level vocabulary. And so when it comes to vocalizing that message and the words that you use, I would say really keep it on, I would say, that level. Keep it simple. Don't go too technical when it comes to pitching yourself, but use universal terms that everyone can pick up on. Now, there may be some technical terms. Um, However, I would say do not go into the extreme of, oh, yeah, I make the nomenclature of, chemical compositions and all these wonderful things, because the average person is not going to know that. And so just think about what are the average terms that, people that potentially come across would know, because, you may be engaging with someone that's not in your field. And so always have that into consideration, because when it comes to that, again, there could be an opportunity in front of you where you're speaking with someone where they need what you have, but because you were too technical and they didn't understand what you were saying, then that's a missed opportunity. And so when it comes to vocalizing that message, those 3 to 4 things which you do, your role, and even just briefly about your organization, I would say keep it mid-level on like your position, what you do. So they're now in that space of, okay, I can ask you more questions. I can engage with you further and potentially make a connection even from this. And so with that being said, you may include a few technical terms, but I would say keep that roughly to a minimum, to like a mid-level range with that. But when it comes to pitching yourself, always remember that it's the commercial, it's the sneak preview of who you are. Always think lights, camera, action. And last but not least, always remember that even when it comes to pitching, it's trial and error. And so if you notice your first pitch doesn't knock it out the park, that's completely fine. There's going to be other opportunities for you to engage with people and even potentially come across the same people that you've encountered before to even try your pitch again, to show value again, if that's a connection that you really want to pursue. And so with that being said, I just want to say thank you for listening in. That's all that I have for today. But before you go, what I want you to do is make sure you leave a review for your favorite podcast and stay tuned even for our next episode, which is going to be about networking and relationships. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share, and invite someone for our next episode. And just before you go, one last reminder is, one, remember that you are phenomenal. And so go out there into the world and let other people see it and other people know it, and let your light shine. Until next time, see you soon.